on my tutorial on PHP, and let's just talk about variables, and then we'll actually do it in our code. In PHP, when we do variables, they're like X and Y in your math class. Each variable represents information. Things like user's name, email address, quantity, price. So if you're going to do a form, for example, and you're going to have a person create an account, and you want to capture their name, their email address, you do that through a variable. A variable can capture it, okay? And it's a name that represents a value, and that value can change, which is why we use the term variable. The other thing, it also represents unknown information, right? We don't know everyone's username. And so how you capture it? You capture it to a variable. So you write a variable, and then we don't have to know what their name is going to be for us to show them their name. So we can get very personal and be very nice to them, yet all the while we're just using it as a variable. Okay, some guidelines on variables. In PHP, variables begin with the $sign. Things like name, date, quantity, price. Variable names must begin with only letters or underscores as far as the first character goes. Variable names, you cannot have spaces in them. Okay, we're not allowed to do that. Variable names are case sensitive, so price, and price are all different variables. Each one is unique because we capitalize differently when we do the characters. Okay, some guidelines of characters. Variables. You always need to create the variable before you use it. Like name equals Luis, date equals today, quantity equals 5. Okay, we can output a variable's value with echo. So echo name will produce Luis in this case. We can combine strings and variables, and we do it with the dot. Okay, you put a dot between your strings and variables. We have a fancy word for that. It's called concatenation. And that just means combining strings. So good day, name. It's good to see you. Note, we have a string. We end the string with a double quote. We put a dot, and then we put a variable and another dot, and then we continue our string, and then finally at the end we close it with a double quote and a colon there, or a semicolon, excuse me. Anyway, so there's how we would be able to greet the user by their name, even though we don't know what it is. We can perform math on variables as long as it's a number value, either an integer or a floating point number, which is just a decimal number or a precise number, however you want to call it. So we put x equals 10 and y equals 4, and we echo x minus y. The result will be 6, right? So that's very simple. So let's actually put it into our PHP page. Now, if you're watching this video for the first time, you just kind of jumped in. We're in the middle of a series, so you're going to see some code here. But we're using Web Matrix to do our PHP. And the way I like to open Web Matrix is not to open it, but actually to go to the folder where I have my project, right-click, and choose Open with Web Matrix. So that's how I'm going to do it. Open as a website with Microsoft Web Matrix. This only works on Microsoft. I don't know. They might sell it for other programs, but I don't know. I'm going to let this run. There's no point in me recording all the waiting I have to do. Okay, and here we are. When it opens up, I've already created my index page. My previous video will explain how to create a new site and how to create an index.php page. Index, of course, is just like a home page. And you can see our multi-line comment here. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to create some page variables. Sometimes they'll call those global variables. I don't like to use that word on here because it's just on my page. Global variables can take on other connotation depending on the type of PHP you're doing. So for now, I'm just going to put set page-wide variables. It's a very common thing to do. So we're going to create a variable, and one of the things on the variable, remember there can't be spaces. So if you want to have actually I'm going to call it page name. Page name, for example. It's the name of the web page. Okay, if it's the name of the web page, page name sounds like a great name for my variable, right? It's much better than Bob the Chicken. And since I can't have spaces, I use underscore. And this is actually very common naming convention in WordPress, which is what we're going to be doing in a little bit. So I say let's use that style here. So we're going to put page name equals, and then I think we should call it PHP testing grounds. So I'm going to actually create a variable to represent our page name. So what's beautiful about this, and it almost brings tears to my eyes, is now I can use this page name down here in my title. So before I said echo my web page title, well, that's pretty generic. Let's echo page name. By the way, I've already created the variable, so it already gives me that as an option. So we'll go web matrix. Okay, there we go. Save my changes. And remember we did this echo h1 my web page. All right, we're going to do that differently. The other thing too is that if you don't need to echo your HTML code, then why do it? So I'm going to go to the body out here. I'm going to create my header 1, and now I'm going to create my PHP tag. And I'm going to echo page name again. So see the value of creating a variable now? So anytime I want to refer to the page name, I've got a variable to do it. And if I change this name, it will reflect on there. So let's go ahead and save our changes, and let's launch it to see what it looks like. Of course, now I have to drag it here. And you'll see now, see it says PHP testing grounds in my header 1 and along here. So let's say we're like, wait a minute, we need to change the name of our web page. We can't do that. Well, it would be a pain if I had to go into my title and my header 1 and change it when all I had to do was put it in here. PHP rules, yo. So I save my changes, click on run. I should have just hit refresh on the other page. And now I go to my page, PHP rules, yo. And there it is on both, right? So that's the power of the variable, right? The other power of the variable is when we start doing forms and the user fills out a form, we're going to want to capture their information, and we can post it, and we can do things with it to confirm and spit it back out. And let me just show you, yeah, so let me just come back one more thing. Before I get too excited and go further down the line, let's just practice a little more with our variables. And so we've got our escape sequence. Let's just do a little math. Oh, I did it over here. I tried this earlier, so let me just go down here. So we're going to practice a little variable math. But x equals, I'll do 73. And y equals 13.5. Do you still need to see any of this stuff up here? Okay, so we're going to do a little variable math. We're going to echo, and we're going to try a couple different things. We're going to use some math operators. We're going to do x divided by y, semicolon. And let's do this. We're going to see if we can add right here. So we're going to put this divided by this. We're going to add a little bit more. Sorry, I'm going to get a little fancy here. We're going to create a paragraph. Now, we're combining strings with variables. And so we combine them using the dot concatenator, or concatenation operator, however you want to call it. You can have spaces too if you like. I'm pretty sure it ignores white space. So, I mean, you can do it that way if you want. We'll test that out in a moment. Put a dot. Sorry, it's going to take a little moment. Okay. So notice, in between each string and variable, there is the dot. Okay, so we're using concatenation. Let's save our changes and hope it works. And we come back here. There it is. 73 divided by 13.5 is 5.407, blah, 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 blah. Okay, because we took a prime number and divided it by a floating point number. So we get a pretty exact sort of number there. So that's one way to do concatenation. So we practiced a little variable math. Now there's an easier way to do this and format it, and I'll show you that real quickly. All right, guys, if you're wanting to deal with numbers and variables, this can be cumbersome, and it's doable. Let me show you a better way. And I want to show you a link to W3 Schools. There's a print function, printf. Check this out, guys. Printf. Printf is a function. And we can do a print, and wherever we want to insert a variable, we put a percentage sign and a character, like so. And then I want to show you the different things here. If you want the percentage sign, it's %%. You want a binary number there. You want to do whatever. So we've got a lot scientific notation, sign, decimal, number. Okay, so it's the D and the S that we're dealing with. We're going to run out of time, aren't we? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the printf function. And it's not echo, it's printf. We put a string. I'm going to put percentage. Now we can treat it as string or U. I'm going to do S divided by S equals, now we're going to do percentage D for decimal. And then we're going to put our variables in here. Comma, X, Y, and now we're going to try this, X divided by Y, and run it. And 73 divided by 30 divided by equals 5. So 73, we need a little space there. So let's just add the space or a new line return and see if we can get that running. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to try a \n for new line. Save our changes. See if that works. And looks like the new line return didn't work. It just added a space. Let's try one more thing on here. Let's see if it allows us to use tags. Save our changes, run it, and now you can see that the printf will actually work on executing tags. So we created a paragraph tag so it's on its own line, and we'll zoom in on there just a little bit. And what you can see here is that it rounded the number down on here. So the printf function is a way to format it. It's a little bit simpler. We don't have to do all the dots to add it there. I hope this is helpful, and we're going to do some more. We're going to talk more about functions a little bit later on the next tutorial I do. Good luck.